Beautiful song, Ben Adam, teaching us about rising up. When I think about your translation, rise up, I think about radical revolutionary rising up.
I think about how we have Yetzer Tov and we have Yetzer Ra. Do you know these words in Hebrew? We have like a, sorry if interrupting you, Rabbi.
No, give the sermon, go ahead. Preach it, Cantor.
We have the ability to, we have a sort of a, I'm going to say evil or hateful or fearful side of us that acts out of hate. And we also have a higher self that acts from love. And so I think of it like choose the side that acts from love is how I interpret that. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, that's what I was going to say, so thanks. I actually was when I was thinking about like that radical revolutionary rise up. I think like a fist in the air, rise up, and of taking charge and of changing things. You said like when we see things that are wrong, we're Jews. We see things and we right them. We want the world to be different, so we change them. But I love this idea of instead of radical revolutionary rising up with your love. And when Rabbi Westreich and I were talking about the different sections of Torah that we were going to teach, and it's a little different. When we lead services, we like to each give a shorter teaching and not a full sermon. I like to give a shorter sermon in general. But I think that this idea from our text, there's a lot of laws, as you pointed out. Mishpatim, we get to Mishpatim and it's law after law after law. And today when I was studying Mishpatim, I thought about what do we return to and what is an essential part of our teaching. And when I was looking at the Tanakh, I opened it up to where I thought was Mishpatim, and for some reason my Tanakh opened up to Lamentations. Sometimes the Tanakh is teaching you something about where you are. And so the line that I came to in Lamentations was, Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, chadesh yameinu kekedem. And I thought, I wonder what that's going to bring me today. And Hashivenu is about turning us back to the source, turning us back to our own hearts. And it says literally, turn us back to you, Adonai, God, source of all being, divine presence, whatever it is that you imagine is outside of yourself that is transcendent in the world. Turn us back. And we will be turned and then renewed like the very first days. And when I thought about the very first days, I thought about what is it? Is it the first days of the creation of the world? Is it the first days of our own lives, our birthdays? And where are we going from there? What are we renewing in ourselves? What do we have to renew? And it reminded me of that very, very difficult time that we thought we would never come out of, which was during COVID, when we, for the most time, were in a completely empty sanctuary for over 2 years, and we could only feel you coming in from the cameras. And you can look and turn, the cameras are still there. Wave to the people who are at home drinking a martini, they're wearing their slippers. And we're happy that you're there doing that, although I would like to be in slippers and have a martini too. I was wondering if we would ever do that. But we lived through it, and we kept our hearts open, and we celebrated Shabbat. And Shabbat was there to sustain us. And one of the mitzvot in Mishpatim tells us, God rested, we rest, and the earth must rest. And that middle part about us resting is so important. So even through 2 years of being at home and being in an empty sanctuary, and even through 2 years of this huge gaping hole outside that is us recreating the Mikdash, the Mishkan, this portable sanctuary that is going to emerge in another year and a half, we're still here together. And what I take from Mishpatim is we're commanded many times to think about when we left Egypt, that Exodus, but we're also commanded to go into ourselves and to celebrate, to lift up our good impulse, to give ourselves the time on Shabbat to be together. And so I want to say first the celebration is you're all here celebrating Shabbat. Mishpatim says to lean into that place in our nefesh, in our soul, that needs replenishment, that needs Shabbat Menucha. Who here needs a little Shabbat Menucha, a little rest in their souls, in their hearts, something that is going on in your life that has taken you outside of that ability to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself? And so Mishpatim this week says, don't lose sight of Shabbat. And I know for the people who are at home and the people who are in the sanctuary, you know that because you're here. to help you remember the people who aren't here anymore, to help you remember yourself, and to help you remember you're not alone, that you're part of a sacred community. And finally, I want to remind you not to let too much time go by, because in just 6 days, we'll be right back here. The Torah will wind itself one more time, and we'll be in Parshat Truma. And Truma says, build me a sanctuary. Everybody whose heart moves you, that's Truma. In Vayakel, 2 portions later, it says 14 times the word heart. Can everybody say lev?
Lev.
Lev. So it says, build for me something where I, the presence of God, will dwell among you, but only if your lev moves you. So on this Shabbat, I want you to think about all of those Exodus chapters that are encouraging you to take good care of your heart, to spend time alone in nature or together in nature, and then whatever your heart moves you to do, do it with your whole heart. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.